were sitting in my office. 'Cause
Okay, well, I got a,
the only hard copy I had was the one I revised. So
okay, I'm gonna have to find them.
I can.
No, I got it. They're just not opening for some reason. I got it. Mics are live.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to this monthly meeting of the Rehoboth Beach Planning Commission. It's 1:30 p.m. on Friday, so welcome. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ellison,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Toby,
Here.
Commissioner Strange,
Present.
Commissioner Hunter,
She's absent.
absent. Myself, Commissioner Dewey, Commissioner Stockdale,
Here.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
and Commissioner Bryan.
Here. We have a quorum. Call the meeting to order. Ms. Womack, would you please verify the meeting notices?
I don't have my notes with me, but I can verify that the agenda was posted in City Hall and on the portal in a timely fashion. All public notices were posted in City Hall and on the city portal, and also published in the Cape Gazette and Delaware State News. Signage was provided to the property, and the public notice was sent out to property owners within 200 feet of the subject properties. That's all I have.
All right, what about correspondence? Anything besides the email on December 3rd from Lynn and Sarabos, I think Srivastiva, my apologies for that.
That's the only email that I received
And that was for 330 Rehoboth.
from Planning Commission.
Yes.
No,
No, there's one from Mr. Hilderly, I thought.
right.
Cliff Hilderly.
That was forwarded to all of us, but I don't see it attached to the agenda.
Mr. Hilderly, it was,
I'll have to embed it into the agenda after the meeting.
Okay.
yes, I think his letter, as I recollect, was asking questions about the operation of the valet parking
Correct.
Right, yeah.
beneath the One Rehoboth Hotel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First matter to come before us today is considered old business. It's a continuation of the public hearing of a minor amendment of the site plan review application number 0523-04, One Rehoboth Hotel. Address of the property is 1 Rehoboth Avenue. Mr. Schinko, would you like to open the proceedings today?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission and the public. This is a continuation for minor amendments for application number 0523-04, as we know it, the One Rehoboth Hotel. I had put in an original report on October 15th, 2025. Since then, plans have been amended, and what I have that's embedded in the agenda today is an addendum to that report dated December 4th, 2025. So there, while I generally, my general statement is that I recommend this be approved, I do have some conditions and comments I'd like to read into the record for that.
Yes, please do.
The first one, and there are a total of 4, the valet operations permit. Valet operations are required to receive a permit from the city manager. Pursuant to Chapter 194 of the City Code, the applicant is responsible for ensuring that the current plan allows compliance with Chapter 194. Number 2, revision coordination. Section E1 on sheet A43-01 does not reflect revision 6. Noted on A20-02, which adds a new ramp to accommodate the lift height. And I'm sure the applicant can show this when they speak on the large screens here. The applicant shall update sheet A43-01 to illustrate revision number 6 so that the elevations are accurately coordinated. Number 3, the loading area wall section. As noted in staff comment 2D of the original site plan review dated January 3rd, 2025, known in my report as BI Exhibit A, the applicant previously indicated that the 45-degree wall section adjacent to the loading zone would be removed to improve maneuverability for delivery trucks. This wall section does not appear to have been removed in the submitted amendments. The applicant is advised to reconcile this inconsistency. And number 4, turning aisle width. Columns located adjacent to the passenger loading zone on the lower level as illustrated on sheet A20-02. Reduce the clear vehicular turning aisle width to 22 feet in the area opposite the column. While the overall dimension from wall to wall measures 24 feet, approximately 2 feet of that dimension overlaps the striped passenger loading zone, which is approximately 9 inches, which functions as an access aisle. Pursuant to our accessibility manual, as adopted by Rehoboth Beach, the ICC A117.1, dated the 2017 cycle, Section 503.3.1, access aisles are not permitted to overlap vehicular ways. To maintain compliance with the 270-30B of the City Code, the applicant should revise the plans to provide a continuous, unobstructed turning aisle of 24 feet throughout the parking area, exclusive of the passenger loading and access aisle. Resolution of this turning aisle condition will be required as part of the applicant's plans revisions prior to final construction approval moving forward. So with that, the department recommends the Planning Commission approve the minor amendments submitted on November 12th, 2025, with the understanding that the above comments will be addressed by the applicant and that detailed design and construction elements of the plan will be evaluated during the comprehensive construction plans examining phase.
All right, so you're comfortable with that format, that way of moving forward?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm still Vince Robertson with the law firm of Parkhouse, Gear, Swayze, and I still represent One Rehoboth. And I will tell you that the more we...
Your question before you get all wound up here?
I didn't know I was going to get wound up. That scares me a little bit, but sure.
Have you stopped demolition because the city ordered you to do so?
I'm going to state my understanding of it, and then these folks, we haven't stopped because the city ordered us to do so. I would say it's been more collaborative. For example, there was a conversation about not doing demolition that would interfere with Sea-Witch, for example.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a stop work order. That never occurred. It's been collaborative the whole way through, I would say.
I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
But it didn't
on the
resume
record.
after that, and that's what we were curious as to why, or, because it doesn't have anything to do with this amendment, so.
I mean, I guess indirectly it does, in terms of we're not going to move forward with construction without the amendment getting done. But no, I mean, they're really independent of one another, so.
Right, they're independent of one
It
another.
was never a stop work order.
No, there was never a stop work
And
order.
out of curiosity, when do you plan to resume?
That's a question. That's a loaded one. I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to come up or you want to. Soon, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully soon.
Okay.
So.
Right.
I will say this, that there's been a lot of, and the Planning Commission and Corey certainly knows about, Mr. Schinko knows about it. There has been a lot of coordination and conversations between the design and construction team and city staff, just so everybody knows what's going on. But no, there's not been a stop work order. I wouldn't even say necessarily there's been like a formal, you should do this. It's more what's sort of in the best interest of the community. The other thing is, as weekends go further, might as well keep that coffee shop there in that building too, that just so it's a sort of a circumstantial reason, I guess, so.
All right, well,
thanks.
continue getting wound up. That'd be good.
Stay calm. So my PowerPoint is actually shorter. As I said, each meeting we have, the PowerPoint gets shorter and shorter. I'm not going to introduce everybody here because I feel like you know everybody on a personal basis by this time. The team is on the screen. We've previously described the why we've asked for this minor amendment, so I'm not going to go through that. It's a minor below grade change. Again, just for the benefit of everybody, nothing is changing above grade on the boardwalk on Rehoboth Avenue or the entrance to the hotel at Baltimore Avenue. I would like to just remind everybody who's paying attention that the above grade design, there is prominent commercial businesses, including grottos on Rehoboth Avenue and the boardwalk, and then an arcade and some other businesses along the boardwalk and going north. And there's the stepped back hotel above, and it occurred to me as I was preparing for this when we started, we were trying to overlay the the lifeguard station onto what these plans would look like. We're far enough along, we actually have the lifeguard station, so we know what it's going to look like in relation to this building. And I think they'll work well together because, again, as we did point out, the hotel stepped back on the upper floors, which allows greater visibility for that lifeguard station. That's been borne out as the lifeguard station got built. At this point, at the conclusion of the last meeting, there were 13 questions that were raised by Mr. Strange. We've answered all 13 of those in our letter, which is in the record dated December 3, 2025. Because we went through that, unless there's specific questions, I'm not going to go through all 13 items. I don't feel like there's the need to do that. I do have a very short presentation just to run through, highlight sort of the valet parking aspect of it. But I think also it's important that independently Mr. Schinko went through those 13 questions and presumably our responses. And as he stated this afternoon, generally our plans comply subject to some clarifications and corrections and things that can be dealt with in the construction plan review that occurs with his office. And kind of that was the point of one of the statements I made last meeting, that some of this stuff is construction level detail that we just wouldn't get to. I don't think any applicant or architect or engineer would get to, because that's going the next step that you would go into and the expenses for that next step following a preliminary site plan review. And we would agree with Mr. Schinko that, and request that ultimately there be a motion to approve this minor revision to the approved site plan, subject to the comments contained in Mr. Schinko's December 4, 2025 addendum to report. With that, as I said, I want to highlight a few things. And Wally, if you just want to come up here just in case there's any questions. This is the street level. We put this in here just to show, again, that there's no change to the street level design. But I do want to point out that 45-degree angle wall that was in, I don't know if it was in Mr. Strange's comments or Mr. Schinko's or both. That's this area here. That's just a legacy thing that just showed up here. That we understand that's coming out. That's one of the comments that he made on that. The next, because we didn't get to the valet parking, just wanted to show some illustrations because that was raised. And these are just examples, but this is the entrance as you come off of Baltimore Avenue, and there will be signage similar to what you've all seen in, hotels and urban settings. I mean, not obviously this is a different address, but along these same lines saying that there's valet parking. That's going to be over top of the entrance, and then there'll be some sort of kiosk. Again, this is an example right there, so it's obvious that there's valet parking. And then this is the actual construction, or excuse me, the architectural drawings, the site plan drawings that have been in the record now for some time. In case this looks different to you, the data blocks on the right, we actually sort of cut them from the drawing and blew them up just so they're easy to see on the slide. So it doesn't look exactly like the actual electronic document you got. This is just a slide for illustration purposes. And again, Wally's here to answer any questions on that. We went through that last time. But we wanted to show the garage level, again, valet. So if you're coming in by car, you would be coming down this way. You would see there's a wall here, and we envision putting a big sign like this here that directs cars further in. And then overhead, like you've seen in every parking garage you've probably ever been in, there's signs like this overhead that say where to go. Then you come here to the valet parking, another kiosk like the one we showed on the prior slide. And that's where the valet attendants would take care of things with your car. You would exit your vehicle and then enter the hotel and go up to the lobby. So it's really well organized. And between, as we said in the letter, between the throat of the drive aisle on the ground level down into here, there's plenty of space for queuing of vehicles as they come in. But as we pointed out the last time, we had the actual data from the Admiral on check-ins and check-outs that showed with more rooms than what we have, their peak time was every 5 to 7 minutes for somebody checking in their 3-hour increment they showed on their data. Would be less than that, so we don't see there being a traffic jam. The other thing that I don't know that we highlighted enough is that this ownership group, the Onyx Group in particular, they do operate hotels. So this is not a one-off project for them. So, and that includes one off the top of my head in downtown Westchester. So they're used to the check-in, check-out programs, how that works, the trends of when people check in, check out, the vehicle use of folks, and how to manage it and run it and operate it. So that's not really a site plan issue, more of a comfort level issue, but I don't know that we highlighted that enough the first time around. And then this is just a cross-section of the buildings that, again, we've provided before. And that's the last slide I have. I just want to look Corey's, Mr. Schinko's second item. Wally, it was, yeah, the section question and the ramp height question, if you want to address that. You gotta go, yeah.
So,
Good afternoon, everybody.
yes, sir.
Well, there was one question, again, on the ramping of the garage versus the section that was shown. Just to add a little bit of clarity to that, the section you see here, this section designation, the thing that's a little confusing about this is it's actually drawn down at this point of the garage and it kind of skips down here just for clarity. So when you see the actual section, it shows that portion of the garage here and how that slopes down. So that actually occurs down here. The area that we're discussing, that Corey had pointed out, is more up here. And we understand that when we get to the construction drawings, we're actually going to have more sections than these on the construction drawings, just for clarity, and that will explain clearly what the differential heights are and the slopes and so forth. But that's one of the items that we brought up. And again, we realize we've got to clarify that for Mr. Shinko's review.
Yes, sir. Mr. Funk, are the terms of your letter dated November 12, 2025 that you addressed to the Building and Licensing Department, are they still correct? And basically what you said is, this is just a minor amendment. It doesn't apply to anything above grade.
Correct. As far as all the FAR calculations, everything above grade, everything is identical to what we had previously.
And your parking space number has stayed the same?
Correct. Correct, exactly. And that's depicted actually on this slide right here in the right. So we're at the same parking number as we were before at the 62.
Okay, thank you.
And are those parking spaces 9 by 18, including the ones on the lift?
Correct, yes.
Okay, including the ones on the lift, that's good to know.
There might be some question about the wall closest to the Admiral.
In terms of,
It was 5 feet.
actually, yes, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 feet right now. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we're about 6 foot, maybe 6'3" or something like that, off the property line to that west end.
Okay, well, there was some question at the last meeting, I believe, that spacing was put in place in case you found a problem. It was one of those, gee, we're looking, we haven't found a problem, but we just want to have enough of a gap to,
Right, that's more of a construction issue, but yes, correct.
and
yeah.
you didn't find any problems.
Well, I think, in terms of the,
Can't address,
right, yeah, exactly, right.
okay.
One question that I had, you mentioned, Mr. Robertson, that Onyx has other hotels and does valet, and which is good to know. But are any of their other hotels use a lift system such as this?
No, not at this point, no.
So they don't have any direct experience working with lift systems?
No, but they have, obviously, to move forward
curious.
with this, the answer is no, they don't, but they've spoken to designers of these lift systems to make sure they understand how they operate, that there's fail-safes involved in them, what it takes to run them, what type of staffing it takes, and that sort of thing. And also, just being in the hotel industry, through industry groups who also deal with valet systems, they have that information as well.
Okay, just curious, okay.
Members of the commission, any questions? Mr. Strange?
Yes. In fact, I generally agree with Corey's assessment to my questions, to your response to my questions. There's only two that I would like to address. One is the ADA issue, and your response was that I had a misunderstanding of the code. I don't have a misunderstanding of the code. I confirmed it for the second time because we had to do this for another hotel. You cannot at any time park in an ADA space of any kind, drop-off zone, unless you have an ADA license plate or sticker issued by the appropriate authority. The enforcement of that, however, is done at the local level. If the local level fails to enforce that on a continuing basis, then at the federal level, the Department of Justice steps in and the fines essentially take place around $100,000 to $150,000. So it is significant. And I think what happens is, and probably Vince and a previous applicant ran into the same trouble, if you look at ADA 503 or 400, any of those, none of them address the issue of what happens if somebody is a non-ADA licensed vehicle, because that's handled by a totally different aspect of the federal government when it's a civil rights issue, which I didn't realize that's the way it was done. But that's the way it's done. So Your response was wrong. I just want to make clear that is the federal law.
I'm not sure my response is wrong. I'm not sure that we necessarily understood the question the way it was posed. Having said that, we understand we need to comply with the ADA requirements. I mean, and we'll, as Mr. Schinko stated in his report.
Right, but the
that's
way,
gonna be reviewed.
you previously described it, and that's why I responded this way, is the fact that that anyone could use that, and you were going to use that as available storage, even if it was only for a few minutes, with regard to the valet system. So I see you're shaking your head, no, they're not going to do that now, which that's fine. But I wanted to clarify that what the ADA rules are explicit. It can only be used by a vehicle that is ADA, and that goes for the drop-off zone as well. And I had that confirmed over the phone to me. I had to wait for almost an hour to get response on hold, but it was confirmed by the feds.
No, yeah, and as I said, that may have been a misunderstanding on our part, because we responded about access aisles, not being able to be used concurrently with ADA accessible parking spaces. But we'll certainly make, because we know we have to, we're going to comply with ADA.
Okay, that's fine. That solves that one. The other one actually is let me get to that. Was the lift system, and your response on that was I would describe more as a PR description. I was expecting an analytic description involving queuing theory, which takes into account all of the considerations that you have to deal with regard to whether you used a lift system or not, with regard to the skedicity of the data, and that wasn't provided. I think based on what Corey is saying and what you're doing, one of the obligations we have is, in any situation, in some cases, based on the code requirement, is to make incommensurable things commensurable. But it has to be based on science and facts, not just, I don't like it or I like it. It has to be hard evidence. And I was assuming that's what you were going to do in describing the use of the valet system. And it sounded more like a marketing pitch. My concern is, based on queuing theory, it won't work the way you say it's going to work, even taking into account the information you have from the Admiral Hotel. That's disconcerting. I think Corey and his team hasn't yet analyzed it to that depth. And it's our obligation to you and the public, quite frankly. If we see something that is later going to get you into a real problem because it won't function properly, and it has a safety impact, that's an obligation that we are required to consider. So I put that out there. The current way, based on the math, and I did it, it doesn't look good. It looks problematic.
I'm going to object to that just based on the fact that you brought up science and math, but what we're really based on in a planning commission review is the record. And so I don't know what science and math was used. I don't know what queuing theory was used. Obviously, my clients have an interest, and they've designed it and reviewed this, as I mentioned, to make sure that it works. Frankly, the hotel was approved with 62 parking spaces that were self-parked, and just driving around Rehoboth during the summer, I'd rather have professionals parking in a garage than some of the folks I see on the streets. I think it's probably safer if you have a hotel operated this way. But
Mr. Robertson, is this project going to comply with Chapter 194?
it will, yes.
And that's the valet parking?
Yes. And the zoning code requirements for parking as well.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one question, and it's really may reflect my lack of knowledge in one area, but I understand the valet operations require a permit later on that will ensure compliance with applicable code provisions. Do you anticipate being open to or doing any studies that, would address issues that would come up in that area, if that would help resolve concerns? I'm thinking about some of the the lift operations and some of the things that, you know, maybe we don't have a good grasp of, or you say you have not worked with before?
So I'm going to answer that in two ways. One is yes. I mean, that makes sense for everybody to get the most efficient operation of this hotel. You know, that's the safest and the you know, a way that doesn't have any glitches or any problems or issues with it at all. But one of the other things is sort of a more common sense thing, because we have to get the approval of the city manager for that as well. And as they have had ongoing conversations with the city about the demolition we talked about, you know, I cannot imagine they're going to wait till the, you know, the ribbon cutting to go to the city manager and say, hey, by the way, we need the permit for the valet parking, because that's, you know, obviously a problem. So there's also going to be conversations with the city along the way about that and how this is going to operate front-loaded, you know. So I don't know that it's necessarily going to be in coordination with the construction plans, but certainly soon thereafter, you know, to make sure that this isn't a last-minute fire drill.
Thank you.
Mr. Morris. Mr. Ellis.
This may just be a clarification. I'm still concerned, and you have the proper plan up. You show all of the cars coming in, and they end up all heading toward what appears to be the dead end on this. That would be at the top right. And at that spot, there's something that is called a valet turnaround. Can you, I'm sure there are other spaces with adequate coverage for U-turns, but how is that actually going to work? It's very unclear to me.
Well, there are two spaces. There's actually the passenger loading space one is designated, if I can find my mouse, is designated here. And then also, you know, the theory being that there'd be a valet actually operating it here and then turning it around, parking it in its, you know, its permanent space at that point. So this wouldn't be a public turnaround, that it would be taken over by a valet operator at that point. And that's a wider space at the end too for a turnaround space.
When does the average car get turned around if they're headed for other areas of the parking garage?
Well, I think the key thing here is that the valets have to manage that. The valet would be at a single point, and they would have to take over the parking. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, that controls the traffic, I guess, so to speak.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You know, just one point too, because we talked about
The microphone, please.
Mr. Funk, he's from Chicago, and he's designed public buildings all over the place, including hotels. So he has familiarity as the architect of record for this hotel with valet parking operations.
Yeah, I think the key thing here, and I think Vince put it well, is that in terms of parking, this valet operation is going to be a much safer operation than a public self-park. That's just always been our experience. In fact, in a lot of places, even, you know, I'll just say in Chicago, because I'm intimately aware, you know, a lot of places they'll allow tighter spaces, they'll allow tighter aisles for valet because they know it's more controlled. I mean, here obviously we're providing all the self-park, you know, spaces, clearances, turnarounds, which is going to be, you know, the valets are going to love that, to be honest.
All right, Mr. Robertson, I think, Ms. Davis, sorry.
Yes. I'd like a clarification as to, excuse me, one aspect of this, and then I have a question. And the clarification has to do back to this permit from the city. Mm-hmm. If you've talked about, you would certainly try to get a permit or apply for a permit before the final ribbon cutting, but that would imply that the hotel was already constructed. My understanding of the building inspector's written report, is that that one of the conditions for getting a building permit for final construction approval would be review and issuance of a valet parking permit under Chapter 194 from the city before a building permit is issued. Am I correct?
I would say that's a fair assessment. I imagine, and I'll let the applicant speak to this, that we'll be doing a phased construction permitting process. We may not. They may wish to do everything all at once. But I would look at Chapter 194 in a similar respect on how we do permit of compliance. If there's going to be any Board of Adjustment variances needed for any of the uses that don't match our C1 use regulations. And there will be other, if they have clear public space similar to Belhaven, they'll need approvals for that to make the entire site plan itself work. So these are billed as conditions. We wouldn't issue a building permit until we had sufficient approvals that showed that, yes, that the overall dimensions of this would work and would be eligible for approval under Chapter 194, if that makes sense.
Well, I was just reading the words of the page of your report that says, final approval remains subject to review and issuance of a valet parking permit under Chapter 194, which it stated rather than implies that no final building permit would be issued unless and until there was a valet parking permit from the city.
Correct. I'll answer yes.
Okay,
Correct.
just they say it was a point of clarification.
And we don't disagree with that. I was just making the broader point that we're going to have those conversations so there's not an issue, so, yeah.
Well, because this gets to my question. I have no doubt, and because I've done a lot of traveling before I retired, to major cities that had valet parking systems that involved mechanical equipment and stacking and so forth. My understanding generally in those instances when I was driving a rental car from the airport, that sometimes the systems were down and they had alternative sites for the valet parking until they got the system back up and running. Because we know in a perfect world, mechanical systems do go down and staffing glitches do occur. And so they had backup space and backup plans. Is there any consideration being given to that? And if so, what is it? Because I think it's a fair point to ask. Given the concerns about the queuing aspects of this and some of the engineering aspects, which I'm certainly in no position to even think about, much less have an opinion about. But there are concerns, and particularly the impact on Baltimore Avenue, and I think they're legitimate concerns. So do you have a plan B for that point in time when, like everything else in this world, it's not perfect, the mechanical system goes down and or the staffing is not available?
Well, I think one of the key things here is the selection of a manufacturer for these lifts that's widespread, well-known, nationwide manufacturers, which is what we're looking at now. And again, these things, as far as systematically, there shouldn't be a system-wide issue. It might be on a limited basis, and I think that based on the availability, it's again, it's like any system, but I think the key is being able to have somebody who has the bandwidth, which that's what we're looking at in terms of any repairs that have to happen, and then also making sure that if there is something that needs repair, it's a singular and not a system-wide.
And I would just add that, we're not doing the whole parking garage as the lift system. There are surface level spaces, and then within the lift system, there's still another 24 surface level spaces. So, we feel that's adequate. And with valet parking, there's also, because it's going to be valet operated instead of self-parked, there's in the very unlikely event that occurs, there's space within the parking garage to park cars that valets can then move around and shuffle for the limited basis that something might be down. So we do feel that that's covered.
All right, anything else? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Robertson, can we agree that the prior hearings and submissions for this matter are incorporated into this record?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chair, can I ask one more question? This may have been answered and I may have missed it somewhere along the line. But I thought within the valet parking in our regs, you can't have one within 1,000 feet of another approved valet parking. Is that?
You're correct. That is true, and it is in our code. But that is from the valet drop-offs. So the Belhaven valet drop-off and pickup is going to be on Wilmington Avenue, which meets that, because the satellite lot that they have, that's a private lot, and no valet service pickup or drop-off will occur at that location. that was something that we looked at.
So there's 1,000 feet in actual distance with where it is going to drop off on Wilmington Avenue versus theirs on Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good, I'm glad.
All right, anyone else?
Go to the public.
Yes. Anyone here from the public to speak, to address this application? Please, if so, please come forward. Yes, sir. Please come forward. State your name.
Actually, I
Yeah,
think
they
that
do.
middle mic is not working.
Oh, so, okay. No, that's fine. You're good. It should be all set up.
Cliff Hilderly, 402 Bayard Avenue. And I just want to say at the outset, I'm here as a citizen and not representing any of the committees I'm on. So my question, I come here really asking questions about the practicality, the operation of the parking garage. And I submitted a number of questions to all of you, and I won't go through.
Just, can I interrupt for a second? I'm concerned that there's been questions submitted that I haven't seen and are not part of the record. Were they embedded in the agenda or forwarded to the applicant? Were they?
They're
They were in the
actually in the
agenda.
document center,
Okay.
listed under the major hotel projects. And then if you look in the file that says correspondence, his email is there.
All right, I think I gotta go through 5 tabs to find that, but, all right.
Mr. Hillerly, your questions basically are concerning how the valet parking, the underground parking and the lift system works. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
So, I won't go through all of them since they're available to everybody. But, one of the primary questions is, for example, where do cars park that can't access the garage for whatever reason? They don't fit, they're too large. The garage, may be full. Maybe there's a car or a lift that's broken, you can't get the last car in. Where does this car go? At some point in time, perhaps the garage reaches its maximum number of cars that it can intake at one time. What happens to the cars that are waiting? Where do they go? They can't sit on Baltimore Avenue and block other cars. You certainly don't want them circling anywhere. Is there, an alternative parking or waiting area? Those are just a couple of the questions I have. For example, can the garage handle incoming cars with roof-mounted bicycles? What about cars that have these carriers mounted on the back of the trailer hitch for powered wheelchairs or giant coolers? Do those does the parking garage accommodate those? And if not, what do you do with them? So, as I said, I won't go through all of my questions, but that's sort of the gist. And we, I think we heard the beginning of that. What happens, for example, what do you do when the electricity goes off? You're not getting cars out. You're not getting cars in. So, those are my questions.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for coming. Anyone else?
I don't know if you, just a real quick response on that. So the concern about, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. I missed those questions, and we'll take a look. The question about the garage being full or not, that's really a neutral question because we have an approved site plan with the same number of parking spaces. That could have gotten full, and if garage gets full anywhere in Rehoboth, you park on the streets. I don't mean to be cavalier about that, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the operations of the valet parking. And maybe this is something that Rehoboth should look at, but there's no height requirement for garage entrances. And I don't know, we don't need to put it up here, but we went through that last time, like the Boardwalk Plaza Theirs is 7 feet for their loading and parking, and the same thing with, I think, it's the one where Sammy's Kitchen is. I can't remember the name of that hotel. We showed, that entry. So we're actually bigger than a lot of the hotels in the city with that. But there will be signage, and I know you've all been in garages or whatever where they have sort of those PVC, warning things so that you don't scrape the top of your car or your bike or whatever going into it. That's all. So,
All
thank you.
right, sir. Anyone else?
But I guess, related to that, though, you've talked extensively about the fact that there will be a lot of communication with incoming guests so that they'll know exactly, you'll find out from them what kind of car they're driving. You'll find out from them when they're going to arrive. Could you not also set rules that say, no bike racks, no cars with roof racks, whatever there would be, that because those obviously would have trouble fitting?
Right. I mean, we didn't get into all that, but I mean, that's obviously something go on a web page for starters, and then also with the KIPSU communications that go out to incoming guests as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, we don't want anybody scraping their bike off the top of their car any more than the city would. So.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing.
Anybody else want that? Okay.
Public comment. And among the planning commissioners, is there a discussion, or do we have a motion?
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
All right, I can make a motion if you like.
All right, please.
I move to approve the minor amendment of site plan application number 0523-04 of the One Rehoboth Avenue project, subject to the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and approvals under applicable federal, state, and city laws and regulations. Further, in order to maintain valet operations, the applicant shall ensure that the project is compliant with Chapter 194 of the City Code and shall obtain the necessary permit from the city manager as required in Section 194-5. Per the building inspector's report, the applicant shall update sheet A43-01 to include revision number 6 as noted on sheet A20-02 to illustrate that the elevations are accurately coordinated. The applicant shall remove the 45-degree wall section adjacent to the loading area to improve maneuverability for delivery vehicles. The applicant shall ensure that all parking spaces, including those on the lift system, are code compliant. Each space shall consist of at least 162 feet of usable area for each vehicle, and the dimensions of each space shall be at least 9 feet in width and 18 feet in length. The applicant shall ensure that the turning area within the garage has an unobstructed turning aisle of 24 feet throughout the parking area, exclusive of any passenger loading or access aisles. That's it. That's it.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Starting the roll call vote regarding the plan amendments for One Rehoboth Avenue. Commissioner Davis?
I'm going to vote yes, but I just want the record to reflect I do have reservations and concerns, and I hope the city, traffic engineers, traffic people, and of course, building and licensing will really take a long, hard look at this because it's not a perfect world. Mechanical systems do fail, staffing shortages do occur, and I think the city has a lot at stake to deal with these issues that I don't think are within the purview of the Planning Commission because they are too technical for at least this member of the Planning Commission to address responsibly. So I'll leave it in the hands of the city and with the knowledge that a permit will be required. But I will vote yes.
Commissioner Tobey?
Vote yes.
Reasons?
State your reason.
Well, first of all, I think they did an excellent job responding to the this amendment to the original document, and I'm very pleased with the result. I think they've done a good job.
Commissioner Strange?
I'm going to abstain because as an engineer, I can't in good conscience vote for this because of the methodology that they indicated they're going to use with the racking system. And when you do an in-depth queuing analysis, since this affronts a street that is basically at F level, and that's been documented continuously through the summer season, there's going to be terrific issues that create problematic safety issues for the public. I don't want to vote against it, however, because these folks have shown good faith and tried to do the right thing, and I think they will in the future as well. But they've got a very large problem that the way it's construed right now, I think, is essentially unsolvable.
Myself, Commissioner Dewey, I'm going to vote in favor based on the information provided by Mr. Schinko that assures that through the conditions of his approvals, the questions that I have about code compliance have been answered. As a general comment, as the city continues to develop, I think it's reasonable to expect that we will have other types of commercial projects, hotels or others, that may want to consider a lift system in order to maximize the number of cars that they can get onto a particular footprint. And I think this will be an interesting real-life experiment, although not truly an experiment, to let's see how this works out and what we can learn from it. And I think it's valuable to have this moving forward. Commissioner Ellison.
I vote yes on this. I do believe that the team, the design team, has done an excellent job of responding to Planning Commission concerns. And I think we're at appropriate point in time when the design, of course, is subject to significant change as it proceeds. But I vote yes.
Commissioner Stockdale?
I also vote yes, subject to the conditions that Mr. Schinko identified. I would like to echo and reinforce the comments made by Ms. Davis about the need to work very, very closely with the city as this project moves forward toward construction. Thank you.
Commissioner Gay?
I vote in favor, and I would also like to incorporate the comments made by Commissioner Davis and by Commissioner Dewey about the need for continuing vigilance in looking at all of the factors, but also in looking at this as a way forward that we may see again in the future.
And Commissioner Bryan?
Chair votes aye. I think the design team has put forth a very good effort. I think I wish you the most success, and Godspeed. Motion passes. The minor amendments are approved.
Thank you very much, and happy holidays and happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. 701. 701, right?
Yes.
Right. Because we're missing one.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Back here at 2:25, please.
Yeah, okay.
I turned, and then I almost immediately wanted to transfer over to the main.
It's a nervous making problem, just can't fix it.
Never put on my turn signal. And the first time I drove,
All right, let's reconvene, please.
I got jerked back.
Next matter on the agenda for today is a preliminary review of lot consolidation application number 0624-05, Belhaven Hotel. Address of the property is 2 Rehoboth Avenue. This is a lot consolidation application. Mr. Shinko.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is referenced Planning Commission number 0624-05, known as 2 Rehoboth Avenue, lot consolidation. The application has been submitted to consolidate the following 3 parcels into 1 parcel. That is 2 Rehoboth Avenue, lots 2, 4, 17, and 18. That's tax map number 334-14.18-20. Also lot number 6, tax map number 334-14.18-21. And also, as the city is recorded at 5 Wilmington Avenue, lots 3, 5, and 7, and an easterly portion of lot 9, tax map numbers 334-14.18-35. The Building and Licensing Department has reviewed the application and all applicable zoning codes, as well as the applicable codes from Chapter 236, and has determined that the submitted materials are appropriate for Planning Commission review, and recommends that this move forward, that the consolidation plan meets code.
All right. Anyone here for the applicant? Mr. Dukes? Welcome, sir.
My name is Hal Dukes. I'm here on behalf of the Belhaven Group, and everything Mr. Corey says we agree with. We have filed this and asked for a consolidation. I think you all are familiar with the project. It's been going on for 8 years, so I guess you know where it is. In the course of events, if anybody has any questions, we'll be glad to reply, but honestly, we've already prepared the deed. The deed's been recorded in accordance with the requirements of the code, and it's on record in the courthouse.
So you say the deed has already been recorded?
Yes, sir.
And
That
who
was a
who
requirement.
owns these lots now?
Sir?
Who owns these lots now?
They're, Corey, do you want to tell him?
Is it
It's owned by Belhaven
Aqua
Investments.
Investors
Yes, sir.
Limited? LTD?
That's
Limited?
correct, yes.
Okay. Are you
Which in
satisfied?
reality was the same person. Mr. Pappajohn
Properties
did different
LLC.
LLCs, so that's why it's there. Yeah.
It says here it's Belhaven Properties LLC. Is there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's,
You're right.
that's what's on the
This
agenda.
is
Yeah.
Aqua and
Belhaven Properties, and, yeah, LLCs, yeah.
LLC. So, Mr. Shinko, you're satisfied?
Yes,
This is
correct.
just another step in their process to move to construction plans, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. So again, after this process, just like any other subdivision, lot consolidation, we'll have a final plat at the next meeting, which will be the approved lot consolidation. I'll stamp off on that in my office. We're still working with Chapter 236 on the signature plan, but that's the way we want to move. If you'd like to sign it, that becomes the final plat. They take that over to the county along with the deed that they've already have. That gets recorded, it gets brought back to our office, and then we do the addressing memo and do the in-house cleanup that we need to reflect that.
Okay. Any questions of the commissioners? Any member of the public here to speak on this matter? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Well, I think we're just moving it to public hearing.
Today it
Yeah,
is
so I guess
preliminary.
I would make a motion that we move this lot consolidation application number 062405 for the Belhaven Hotel to a public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Have a roll call vote, please.
Beginning a roll call vote on the lot consolidation for the Belhaven properties. I will begin, please, with Commissioner Tobey.
I vote aye. I'm new to the commission. I'm not familiar with the 8 years of debate that has led to this moment, but at least I regard this as progress, so yes.
Commissioner Strange?
I vote yes.
Myself, Commissioner Dewey, I vote yes. Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellison?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Stockdale?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bryant?
Chair votes aye. And the motion passes. This matter will now proceed to a public hearing.
Public hearing next month. Yeah.
Thank you. The next matter on our agenda for today is a public hearing of minor subdivision application 1020-025-03, minor subdivision of the property located in the C-1 Commercial District. The street address is 330 Hospitality, it's 330 Rehoboth Avenue. And it is a public hearing. Mr. Shinko?
Chair?
Yes, sir.
I neglected to inform you ahead of time. I should recuse from this discussion. I'll join the audience.
Very good.
Yeah, Chair, I have to do the same thing.
Okay. Are we running out of commissioners?
You have enough.
We
We have enough, yeah.
Okay, everybody else hold tight.
Okay, so we're only,
Mr. Shinko.
Okay. Mr. Chair. Yes, sir. Here again, this is a public hearing for, yes, application 1025-03 for the properties at 330, the property at 330 Rehoboth for minor subdivision. I've given similarly with the One Rehoboth, an addendum to my preliminary report. There were a couple recommendations that I made in the preliminary review. Those are referenced in this addendum to the report. However, without reading all of it through, what I just like to simply state is that based on the revised information supplied by the applicant, the commission's deliberations at the preliminary hearing, and the scope of improvements required at this stage of review, the department confirms that the application meets all applicable requirements of Chapter 236 for approval. The procedural considerations identified in this addendum will be resolved through future regulatory submissions and do not impede advancement of this subdivision. So I am, in essence, saying I recommend it be approved. And I'm here for questions if you have any.
Anyone have any questions? Anyone here for the applicant? Ms. Savage?
Good afternoon. Carlton Savage from Scaled Engineering. I'm the registered professional engineer on this project. And I'm here representing 330 Hospitality Group, who is here in the audience as well, listening to what we have to say. This is the public hearing. We did have our preliminary hearing on this and basically got some good comments back and forth. We took those comments from both Planning Commission and staff, Mr. Shinko, and we did make a few changes to the plan, mostly just notes. And those notes are to confirm some of the questions that were raised at the preliminary meeting. I submitted a letter to Mr. Bryan, as well as the rest of the commissioners, to address what changes were made. So hopefully that helped as you reviewed the plan. And some of those items included just notes about the safety concerns that were raised, more of a during construction demolition phase. We put some reassurances on this recorded plan that will get recorded so that anybody buying these lots and the residual lands are required to do certain things. So those notes are, this one looks like a scanned in copy, but one of those items is the cross hatching. We added some cross hatching here along the edge of the parking lot in this area. That cross hatching will be on the pavement. So there was an ask for a revised striping plan. What you'll note, you can't see on this scanned in copy here, but there are parking spaces in this area. This cross hatching will not cross any of those parking spaces, so the parking spaces will remain in the existing parking lot. This cross hatch will be a nice bright yellow demarcation that will exist on the edge of the parking lot, so anybody driving to the end of the drive aisle will see that. A note is added that says a proposed 45-degree angle striping to be installed as a visual barrier between residual lands and new lots prior to the start of any demolition or construction of Lot A. So that will have to be in place before they demolish Lot A. So that's a very easy thing to paint on the parking lot as a first step. A privacy fence and screen is also proposed between these two properties. And this note in this area states a proposed privacy fence screen to be installed as part of new house construction. Fence shall be completed prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy for Lot A. So that's after the house gets built, privacy screen goes up. That's a nice separation and safety and both visually between the two parking lots. I think the last item, there's two more items that were added. One is related to the sidewalk connection. There was concern that the sidewalk would terminate, as it does now, into a parking space. So there was quite a bit of discussion in our preliminary meeting about turning that and allowing it to go in front of the existing cars that are there. We added a note that states sidewalk connection. Sidewalk to be installed as necessary to connect from proposed 5-foot wide permanent easement to existing pavement area in front of existing parking spaces as part of new home construction on Lot A. So as the Building and Licensing Department reviews that site plan, they will have to make the necessary connection from this easement. My assumption is another 5x5 square, and then connect to the existing parking lot. We can't really do that now because construction is going to go in and out of this property. So installation of the sidewalk would best be suited at the end of construction. And then the last item that we added, just for the record, there was concerns about the bulkhead at the rear of the property. We made some notes which should help any future construction as well as the staff reviewing these plans. Bulkhead to remain until construction. Any modifications to bulkhead will be reviewed by the city as part of demolition and new lot construction on Lot A and B. So not knowing what they intend to build on these lots, this bulkhead is a grading separation between Lot A and Lot B that will need to remain unless modifications are done. If modifications are done, Building and Licensing would then have to review those changes to ensure no drainage from these lots enter the properties to the rear or negatively affect any neighboring properties. So with those reassurances, we feel that we've met all the conditions in the preliminary plan, preliminary submission, and feel that we are, at the stage where we would like to record this plan upon your approval.
So, Mr. Savage, your letter of December 1, 2025 remains in effect as drafted, no changes, no modifications of that?
Hopefully, I just reiterated those statements.
And so this should be part of the record?
I believe it is.
Right. Any questions of the commission? Anyone from the public here to address this application? Is there a motion?
There is. Okay, I move to approve the minor subdivision application number 1025-03 for 330 Rehoboth Avenue, subject to the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of any building permit for the proposed project, applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and approvals for the project under applicable federal, state, and city laws and regulations. Any future restriping of the parking area shall be in compliance with all relevant provisions of Chapter 270 of the City Code, specifically Section 270-43C, as well as House Bill 48. Should the applicant develop Lot C at an aggregated value exceeding $20,000, the applicant shall obtain a sidewalk easement to ensure compliance with City Code Section 232-C1. And finally, the applicant shall take care to not disturb or damage any nearby trees, shrubs, or greenery when removing portions of the blacktop area as discussed during preliminary review.
Mr. Schenko, are you okay with those?
Yes, I am.
All right. You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Let
So
me
I guess
see.
I'll-
This is a final matter, so let's have a roll call.
Oh, yeah, we have to have a roll call. I'll have to jump in and do it. Commissioner Ellison?
I vote yes. I believe that in the end, this will certainly improve the outlook on State Road, very definitely.
Commissioner Davis?
I vote yes. This project has come a long way from where we started. It was the first meeting that I went to as a member of the Planning Commission. This was on the agenda. And as I say, it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
But I think all things considered, the concerns of the adjacent neighbors and the concerns of the applicant have been met reasonably well, and so I'd vote yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Toby?
I also vote yes. I appreciate the effort by the applicant to address the comments that were raised the last time. And I agree with the others that this is going to make a real positive impact on that particular part of our city. Thank you.
Commissioner Stockdale?
I too think this is a positive step forward. I vote aye. And I think the proposal is fully code compliant, and the understandings about restriping and sidewalks, I think, are important to identify early to ensure good development as the project moves forward.
Thank you. And I also vote aye. I agree with my colleagues that this is a great use of this property, and really look forward to seeing all the developments on it once they are built. Thank you. And the chair?
Chair votes aye. I must commend you. You demonstrated a willingness to work with us, and even on things that were suggested and not required. And you listened and heard from the adjacent neighbors, and I just commend you on your positive attitude and your willingness to work with us.
Thank you.
Chair votes aye.
Okay.
It passes.
Happy holidays, everybody.
6-0.
All right, we do have some housekeeping. We have minutes from August 22nd, 2025, September 26th, 2025,
Yeah, we were supposed to.
and November 14, 2025.
Oh,
Okay, let
okay.
everybody clear.
Yeah. We'll take a 2-minute break. Right.
Okay,
Forgot, we probably should have done those at the beginning.
we'll take a 2-minute break.
Let the room clear.
Opened them. But
Let us reconvene.
it's an email, questions attached.
All right.
Well, anyway.
All
Reconvene.
right.
We have minutes of August 22, 2025, September 26, 2025, and November 14, 2025 for consideration and, if appropriate, approval. Is there a motion?
Just to note that on the agenda, October 24th is mentioned, but we do not have those, correct? Okay, so we have the 3 sets. I make a motion to approve those 3 sets of minutes as named by the chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Next is Building and Licensing Department report.
Yes, Friday next week, I'll be giving the first presentation to the Board of Commissioners regarding Dover Coal and Partners and our partnership with them for kind of an examination of city code and our overall city itself. And they specialize in architectural designs as well as city and township revitalization. And 2026 is coming upon us soon. Our comprehensive plan was submitted 2022, which means that 2026 is a good year to start working together on any amendments, any revisions, anything like that that we would like to put into the 2027 five-year update. And so with this, I'm very excited that this is kind of coming together at this time right now where we've got Chapter 236 that we've drafted. It's with you all for your review. We're taking a closer look at Chapter 270, multiple other chapters in the code. We have our comp plan that we can take a look at some of our vision statements and our goals as a city and work collaboratively as as the stakeholder groups form, which they will eventually, and outreach and engagement practices begin in 2026. So I just wanted to bring that up today because this is our last session of 2025, and I look forward to working with you all and having the Planning Commission be a vital part of the city's efforts in code modernization and all that entails, as you know, in the coming months.
Now, in terms of the process for the 236 revisions,
sir.
are commissioners to make comments to the chair and then I'm to forward them to you? I believe that's what we talked about.
Yes,
Just
yeah,
wanna
yes, Mr.
confirm
Chairman.
that that's the process. So anyone that has any comments, send them to me and I will go ahead and put them together and send them to the building inspector.
Timeline?
Well, our meeting in January is at the end of the month.
23rd, I think. So,
Yeah. We're going back to our fourth Friday schedule,
Yes, 23rd.
23rd. So do you anticipate, when?
I had anticipated February.
Okay.
Because we also, I think it would be, we have if we are going to be working with the comp plan and taking a closer look at that, I don't want to put too much work on everyone here and on looking at Chapter 236 and revisions for the comp plan, which will work during 2026. So I imagine February. If you have other questions that you'd like clarity for, even in a broad sense, you can share them with the chairman now, and we'll hopefully help to answer those. Maybe some organizational questions or anything like that, and any of the particular additions, deletions, amendments, or changes that you see that you might want to have in that first draft. That's when we imagine getting them back, maybe in the February meeting, and then we can take them back and try to incorporate them and as best as we can have legal review.
How about February 6th as the submittal date from the commissioners to the proposed 236 revisions? And that way I can assemble them and get them to you. Will that give you sufficient time before the February meeting, which is on the 27th, I believe?
It depends on the size or the number of amendments. I'm not sure what to expect, but if it's within reason and we can do it within about a 2-week period, that's what we'll try to do.
Why don't we,
Why don't we make it February 2nd?
okay.
It's a
Yeah,
Monday.
that's better.
Okay,
Have a response to the general.
all right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is just, maybe I've missed it, the discussion, but the draft is a, quote, city draft. Who was involved in drafting it? I ask because I know it looks like a draft we got some time ago from Wallace Montgomery back in the day for 236 revisions that I think Wallace Montgomery was responsible for. Has the city solicitor had input? I mean, whose
Yes.
draft is this and who's had input into it? Has the Cole Group seen it and reviewed it yet?
This was a draft that was primarily done by myself, Nick Walls here, and his associate, Aisha. who works at Wallace and Montgomery. It was then shared with the city secretary and the city solicitor for their comments, as they were integral parts of the processes. And the assistant city manager as well.
But much of it came from the work that you all had done previously. So there's you should be reviewing it, and it should be in keeping with the decisions that you all had made previously.
Well, one of the difficulties, and I haven't had a chance to spend a lot of time on it, but it's given the complete reorganization of the code sections and the subject matter of the code sections and so forth. It's not easy to go through that and look at what the code says now, what we had recommended, and what this draft says. Is it possible to get a side-by-side comparison? And I'm not talking about a red line, because that, given all the changes in the reorganization, that would be impossible. But, you know, preliminary review, the code says we recommended, this draft recommends. And
Well,
so it's just,
we discussed that. The short answer, forgive me, is no. The reality is that there's a narrative associated with it, which I think explains, but there's so much, not just in practical considerations for each section, but the way it was entirely changed to really reflect the work that had been done previously. So I don't think that we can do a...
We have a rough comparison table that takes the proposed chapters and elements, the major headings, and shows where they were pulled from in the previous existing code. It's rough in that it's a very blunt instrument to help, and it won't get into the details, but it should get you somewhere, I hope. We're working on completing it right now.
So that's not among the
That's not
documents.
correct.
that would
It's
be very helpful.
yeah,
Did I miss the narrative? I don't remember seeing a narrative.
No, I think it was I mean, when you look at it, it is more narrative than has previously, I think, been the case. You can understand the progression, which I think what we wanted to do is make it as easy as possible for people to read it and understand. So I think there's a lot in there that you will immediately recognize as part of the discussion that you all had previously.
Okay, any idea, Nick, when that narrative, as we call it,
in the
is done?
next week.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, not narrative, but the table. I'm sorry, which did you ask for?
The document that you just referred to, which is
Yes, the
sort of a
table.
rough comparison.
Yes, we'll have that by the end of the next week.
And then would you ask Ms. Womack when you complete it to send it to everybody?
Absolutely.
So it gets there quicker
Yeah, I'll get
than going through me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If I may, it's
Won't get lost.
just to give a 30-second. It's supposed to read as it does in a chronological way, with the beginning and the end kind of anchored in what it's supposed to be. Where the beginning is general scope and administration, like any code book or most of the modern codes as they're written. It lays out those general requirements. No matter what you submit, this is the generality. These are the definitions used, and then the ending of it is going to be for follow-up after approval, appeals, those types of things. And then after the beginning, it goes into the applications and what's required for an application. So what we're looking at for when it's complete. And then it will move into what are the different elements of the types of applications, what do those need to contain in order for us to review it for compliance.
No, that would be very helpful to have that kind of sequencing.
Sure, I think we can get you some rough sequencing as well, so you can have sections that this is where we're looking at completeness, and when it comes into the city secretary's office, this is what we're looking at when we go to actually review it. And then here are the parameters for, or when we talk about the procedures here as well.
Essentially, the goal was to say, imagine, if you will, what an applicant is going to go through, that process from start to finish. They're going to need to know what they have to include in the plan, what type of plan they're submitting, put all that information together, submit it, and then what does the city do with that application, with that plan? Well, they're going to take it, review it for completeness, they're going to circulate it, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's going to be a decision made at some point. So we tried to use a sequence that was logical and followed the overarching flow of a review and processing of a plan. And then towards the end, after you have your decisions, you have appeals, you have the different enforcement acts, things of that nature. That's our goal, at least. Hopefully it reads that way.
And one last thing. I think that I saw in my brief review that there was a provision that would have to do with the role of the Planning Commission, but was left blank.
Correct.
Subject to further discussion. What exactly are you anticipating? What kind of commentary? What would you like to know? What would be useful? What's the point of that?
Please jump in, but in general, we didn't want to tell you guys what you wanted to codify in the regulations. We want to provide the opportunity for you to take your bylaws, insert them into the code in a way that makes sense, but doesn't hamstring you from making adjustments in the future. So we're looking to you guys for your input on what makes the most sense that you want to have solidified, hard and fast, no question about it.
That was done strategically. There might be elements of your processes, procedures, bylaws that you don't want to put in code, because if you have to change them, we have to go through a whole code amendment. This just adopts it by reference into that section where we could refer to your bylaws. That gives you the purview of, at any point in time, you can amend those, and we don't have to do a code change and go before the Board of Commissioners.
No, I understand your purpose. Personally, I don't think I could find my copy of the bylaws.
I was going to say, that means that it's all incumbent upon all of us to review our bylaws as well as
And
this.
maybe we should have a copy of them available.
and
Maybe they could be circulated also.
And I did want to clarify something. I made a mistake in the presentation before, speaking about the standards of review for decisions that the Planning Commission makes. I misread the APA's suggested language as a replacement and not in addition to. So you'll see a slight change from what would have been presented the other month in there. And it's now more better.
Okay. All right.
That's the
Anyone
very
else?
legal term, too.
I can send out the bylaws and the rules of procedures next week.
That'd be
thank
great.
you. That'd be really
Send
great.
both if you would.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyone else? Mr. Ellis?
I may have missed it, but there's been the hiring of, is it Dover Cole, the firm?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me, or all of us, what the process was that led to the hiring of that firm?
Sure. In June of this year, this was shortly after personnel changes occurred in B&L. There had been some endeavor to do a code modernization. And what we had was leftovers from 2020, which were mostly incremental changes that only affected residential, and it was stuff that we could do in-house. We wanted to take a much more comprehensive look. That's what the City Board of Commissioners were asking for, was a larger look. The Gantt chart that was laid out was approximately 6 to 8 years with minimal consultancies. And that was how I pitched that meeting there, and was the reaction or the suggestions that I had taken away from the Board of Commissioners was, please reach out to some consulting firms. We would like this process to be sped up, and also not that they were looking at that the city couldn't do it, but they wanted to see some professionals that had a long history and excellent creativity in looking at beach towns and similar small communities such as ourselves that have all the amenities that we have to us. Dover Cole and Partners was a firm that a number of stakeholders had shared with me as an option. We made contact with them and had some preliminary discussions with various members of the city city officials, and then the budget was already approved for FY '26 for this purpose. And so at least a phase one under a scope was signed by the city with Dover Coal for the purposes of city revitalization, but more along the lines with looking at our comprehensive plan, our strategic plan, our architectural design guide, the neighborhood preservation ordinance of 2000, and coming up with a path forward of outreach and implementation and engagement that would help steer out of the comprehensive changes. How do we keep our community looking, or keeping the character of the community, while also making some changes that were called for in our comprehensive plan, and using their creativity to do that. So there's some things that we're looking at. One of the ones is a hybrid form-based conventional zoning code. We're looking at parking. We're looking at possibly using their history of architectural design guides for commercial districts. And these are a lot of the issues that we'll be looking to engage with the community in 2026. But that's how that came about with Dover Coal.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Yes, Mr. Toby.
Quick question. Are there milestones already established inside their agreement that are set up on some kind of a schedule?
Yes, and some of those
Deliverables and other-
yes, and those some of those milestones will be shared on Friday next week with the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
Correct.
When do you expect to have enough information that is useful to you?
Well, the first stage was having a representative of theirs come up and visit the city. They did that last
Which has
month,
happened already.
which was 2.5 days, really to take as many photographs as possible. I walked the city with him. We had a tour. There's a lot of different elements of Rehoboth. We've got a boardwalk and a beach. We've got wooded neighborhoods. We have lakes, playgrounds, schools. There's a lot to Rehoboth where it's not just a beach town. The state is pushing hard on affordable or obtainable housing. There's an element of that. There's the purpose of that trip was to come up and get a diagnosis, to take a look at Rehoboth. And where we're at right now is sharing those first observations with the Board of Commissioners next week. And then after that, it's going to be looking to the stakeholders of Rehoboth, and crafting, we have to lead the conversation. We don't want to go in with a blank piece of paper with stakeholders and say, what do you think we should do? It's going to be using them to help. So they will have a vision with maybe some solutions and alternatives to discuss, so an actual real conversation takes place. And the goal is by the end of 2026 to have these recommendations, not maybe necessarily the ordinances written, but the recommendations, the policy recommendations completed, which would fit nicely with the comprehensive plan. And also, we will be working in 2026 on steps for a zoning map update. It's not as simple as the zoning map. It's one layer. We have to work with our base map as well. That's another thing that we're working on with other departments in the city. So there's going to be Wallace Montgomery here as well, is helping with some of these initiatives. But the main date that we are looking at is calendar year, fourth quarter 2026, to have these recommendations put in place.
Anyone else? Well, it's Friday.
Do we want public comment?
Do we have any public comment on the issue that was just before us? Dr. Trejos? No. Mr. Flood? No. Okay. All right. Yes.
My office just received an application for a lot consolidation for 1 Stokely Street.
Okay.
Apparently the lot right aside of it is an empty lot, and he wants to consolidate it into his original lot,
So that will be coming our way.
Corey and I will take a look at it next week to make sure that it's substantially concrete and accurate.
Across the street.
Once that occurs, I'll notify
Bryce-
you and let you know. And
Is
we
Bryce
will
Lingo
get
still on
it
that
to
property?
Start.
Bryce Lingo still on that property?
Yes. Sounds good.
Sorry, never mind.
All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Well, he did.